The American Antichrist, a Chronicle of Elias Thorne. There are many opinions that swirl around the figure known in eschatology as the Antichrist, a being of great deception destined to appear at the end of days. This account is one interpretation, pieced together from ancient lore and prophecy. We will attempt to present a clear narrative of this figure, from his origins to his fated imprisonment. If you hold a different view, you are welcome to share your thoughts. Let us begin. The Antichrist, whom we shall call Elias, is a human being. He is not a demon or some other entity. He is a man whose death has been postponed by divine decree, much like the adversary himself, whose existence is permitted until the final judgment. Elias is a man with the heart of a devil. His parents were descendants of a small, reclusive religious sect that had settled in America generations ago, tracing their lineage back to the old world. For 30 years, they lived in a forgotten hollow named Sella Creek, deep in the Appalachian Mountains of West Virginia, and remained childless. They were devout, but lived in quiet desperation. One night, the wife had a vivid dream. A charismatic preacher, a man they had never seen before, came to her. In truth, this was the adversary, the great deceiver, cloaked in a holy guise. He told her that her prayers would be answered if she and her husband sought out a forgotten chapel hidden deep in the woods, far from the town. He said that within it, they would find a path to fulfillment. The wife recounted the dream to her husband. The next day, driven by a sliver of hope, they ventured into the dense forest. Just as the dream foretold, they discovered a small, dilapidated chapel at the edge of a ravine. Inside, covered in dust and decay, was a strange altar dominated by the statue of a golden fawn. Overcome with a strange fervor, they cleaned the chapel and offered their most desperate prayers before the idol. Soon after, the wife conceived. The pregnancy was unnaturally long and arduous, lasting 12 full months. When the child was finally born, he was a monstrous sight. He had only one functioning eye, the other being a scarred, blind orb. He did not cry, he only slept, refusing to nurse from his mother. A strange and terrible curse seemed to fall upon Sella Creek during the long pregnancy. A severe drought withered the crops. The creek ran dry, and a palpable sense of despair settled over the community. The townspeople, steeped in superstition, began to whisper that the unborn child was the cause of their misfortune. They spoke of killing the infant as soon as it was born to break the curse. The child's birth was a final, tragic ordeal. The mother, weakened and tormented, passed away during the delivery, suffering a massive hemorrhage from her unnaturally large womb. It was this bloody and sorrowful arrival into the world that marked the child as a being of immense tragedy and ill omen. The preacher from the dream reappeared, convincing the grieving and terrified father that the child was an abomination that must be cast away. The father, broken and lost, relinquished his son. The preacher took the infant, Elias, not to be destroyed, but to be set adrift on the great ocean. But as he was about to be cast into the waves, the will of God intervened. The archangel Gabriel was commanded to save the child and transport him to a secret place on earth, a geothermal oasis in the midst of the Antarctic continent, a pocket of impossible life hidden from the world. Gabriel delivered Elias to a small, verdant island within this oasis, placing him under the watch of a unique creature, a guardian, an ancient beast covered in thick fur that could speak the language of men. Gabriel instructed the guardian to care for the boy, to feed him, and to teach him of the one true God. Elias grew, and it became clear he possessed a supernatural intellect. He learned with astonishing speed, absorbing knowledge as if he were remembering it rather than discovering it for the first time. The guardian dutifully taught him about the Creator, urging him to worship and obey. However, the boy was obstinate and rebellious, always questioning and defying. Unbeknownst to the guardian, Elias had another tutor. The adversary would visit him, often in the form of a great serpent, bringing him strange foods and waters to drink, nurturing the darkness within him. This was a boon the adversary had requested from God, and it was granted. The guardian, ever patient, continued to implore Elias to pray. One day, weary of the sermons, Elias defiantly asked, "Who is this God you speak of? Why should I worship someone I have never seen?" The guardian replied with a heavy heart, "Child, do not be fooled by what your eyes can and cannot see. The adversary whispers these same doubts to you. You were given a promise and a warning. The first is that you will kill the one who has protected you all your life. The second is that you will one day walk the earth, and if you continue on this path of defiance, you will claim a false divinity and meet a terrible end." The words enraged Elias. In a fit of rebellion, he picked up a large, heavy stone and struck the guardian, killing the only parent he had ever known. The first part of the prophecy had been fulfilled. Now a young man, but with knowledge far beyond his years, Elias left the island. He spent years in isolation, studying everything he could, delving into the mysteries of the planet, its history, its forgotten treasures of science and magic. He learned to understand the very fabric of life and the minds of living creatures with a speed that was inhuman. He felt an inexplicable pull, a deep-seated calling from his ancestral bloodline, drawing him toward the ancient lands of the Middle East, specifically Palestine. But first, he journeyed to Egypt. He constructed a great vessel and gathered a small crew of followers, men drawn to his charisma and power. He brought with him a strange, luminescent material left behind by Gabriel, as well as a shard from a crystalline panel he believed was a remnant of the Archangel's power. With these artifacts, he began his global adventures, eventually reaching Palestine. He arrived during a time of great spiritual fervor, when a prophet named Moses was leading his people. Elias, now calling himself Samiri, infiltrated Moses' community, taking on the humble job of a stable hand. But he was no mere laborer. He spied on Moses and his brother Aaron, listening to their counsels and witnessing their miracles. One day, he saw the Archangel Gabriel descend on a magnificent steed to deliver a message to Moses. As Gabriel departed, Samiri furtively followed and collected the dust and sand from the spot where the angelic steed's hoof had touched the earth. He knew this dust held a remnant of divine power. When Moses ascended Mount Sinai for 40 days to commune with God, Samiri saw his chance. He used his immense persuasive power to convince the Israelites, who had grown restless and afraid, to give him their gold. He told them he would build them a new symbol of strength to worship, a more tangible God. He melted the gold and forged a statue of a golden calf. Into its hollow form, he poured the sacred dust he had collected from Gabriel's steed. Then, using an incantation taught to him by the adversary, he made the statue emit a low, lifelike mooing sound. He presented it to the people, declaring, "This is your God who brought you out of Egypt." Many of the people, desperate for a leader and a visible deity, abandoned Moses' teachings and began to worship the golden calf. When Moses returned and saw this idolatry, his fury was immense. But Samiri, the Dajjal, had already vanished, escaping the prophet's wrath. He once again became a wanderer, but now with a millennium of life ahead of him. He journeyed across the globe, mastering every language and script, absorbing ancient knowledge that is now lost to time. He lived through the eras of the great kings David and Solomon, his physical form unchanging, forever appearing as a man in his early 30s. Century passed. In the era of the Roman Empire, Samiri heard tales of a man named Jesus of Nazareth, a supposed descendant of David who was performing miracles and hailed by some as a savior. Intrigued and arrogant, Samiri wanted to test whether this Jesus was a true prophet. He did not approach Jesus directly. Instead, he sent one of his followers to ask the Nazarene a question. "There is a man who wishes to know what you can tell of him. Who is he, and what has he done?" Jesus, looking at the messenger with divine insight, replied, "Go and tell your master, the one who calls himself Samiri, that I know who he is. He is the one-eyed deceiver, the man who was born of a cursed union, who was saved by an angel, who murdered his guardian, and who led the people of Moses astray with a golden calf. Tell him his time is not yet, but it is coming." When the messenger returned with this news, Samiri was not humbled. He was terrified and enraged. He dismissed Jesus as a powerful sorcerer possessed by demons. If he were a true prophet, Samiri rationalized in his fear, he would not know the unseen. Only God knows the unseen. Rather than face Jesus, Samiri fled again, disappearing into the far corners of the world. His mind grew twisted with a singular ambition, to rule the world. But he sensed his freedom was nearing its end. He felt a powerful, irresistible pull toward a specific region in the Atlantic Ocean, a place known to modern sailors as the Bermuda Triangle. He and his crew sailed into the strange, misty waters. They came upon an island shrouded in an unnatural fog. On the shore, they were met by a colossal, hairy beast, a guardian even more fearsome than the one from his youth. The creature spoke, its voice a low rumble. "Who are you, and how have you found this place?" it asked the terrified crew. "We are but lost sailors," their captain stammered. The beast laughed, a chilling sound. "You lie. But it does not matter. The one inside has been waiting for news of the world. Follow me." Trembling, they followed the beast into a vast cavern. There, in the gloom, they saw him, a gigantic man, a colossus, bound in chains of a strange, dark metal. His hair was long and wild, and one of his eyes was a blind, disfigured scar. It was Samiri, the Dajjal, now a prisoner. He turned his one good eye on the sailors. His voice boomed in the cave. "Tell me," he demanded, "has the final prophet of the Arabs appeared?" The men, now understanding the terrifying hadith and prophecies, were too frightened to speak. The chained giant continued, asking about the world, about its rivers and its leaders. Then he declared, "My time of imprisonment is nearly at an end. When I am released, I will travel the entire globe in 40 days. I will enter every city except for Mecca and Medina. I am the false Messiah. I am the Dajjal." The sailors fled in absolute terror, making their way back to their ship and escaping the cursed island. They would later tell their story, a story passed down as a warning of the chained evil awaiting its release. Where is Elias, the Dajjal, imprisoned? Some ancient texts place his prison in the Red Sea, but many modern interpretations point to the Atlantic, specifically in the region of the Bermuda Triangle. It is said that the adversary has created a gateway there, a rift between the world of men and the world of spirits, a kingdom where he ensnares the souls of the lost and the faithless. In this abyssal prison, Elias waits. He waits, chained and furious, biding his time until the day God permits his release. On that day, he will emerge as the ultimate trial for humanity, a master of illusion and deception, promising paradise, but delivering only hellfire. He will test the faith of every living person. Therefore, the only true defense against his great deception is knowledge and unwavering faith in God. With religious knowledge, we can discern truth from falsehood and right from wrong. This is the story of the Dajjal, a warning for all who will listen, a reminder to hold fast to the path of righteousness, for the greatest of trials is yet to come. This very account of the chained deceiver was verified centuries ago and passed down through sacred traditions. The story tells of a group of seafaring Christian Arabs who were lost in a storm for a month before washing ashore on a mysterious island. Our modern parallel takes place not in the distant past, but in the near future, aboard a state-of-the-art research vessel named the Pathfinder. The Pathfinder, captained by a renowned oceanographer named Dr. Alistair Finch, was charting uncharted territory within the Bermuda Triangle, using deep-sea drones to map the anomalous magnetic fields. A sudden, inexplicable storm, a tempest of impossible fury, disabled their systems and threw them wildly off course. For weeks they were lost, their communications dead, their navigation systems useless. Finally, battered and desperate, they spotted the shores of an island that appeared on no map, an island shrouded in an eerie, perpetual twilight. As they made landfall, they were met by the same colossal, fur-covered guardian. It moved with an ancient intelligence, its voice echoing in their minds rather than their ears. "You are not the first to be brought here by the storm," it communicated, "but you are the first to come in an age. The one who is bound has questions. He has been waiting for news of the world beyond." Filled with a mixture of terror and scientific curiosity, Dr. Finch and his team followed the creature into the mouth of a vast cave that descended deep into the island's heart. There, in a chamber lit by a strange geothermal glow, they saw him. A giant of a man, his frame immense, was bound to the rock with chains that seemed to absorb the light. His long, matted hair fell over his powerful shoulders, and his single, piercing eye blazed with a terrifying intellect. The other eye was a hideous, blind scar, a puckered, sightless grape. This was Elias Thorne, the Dajjal, the Antichrist in his cage. His voice was not a shout, but a resonant boom that shook the very air. "You who have come from the world of men," he began, his gaze fixing on Dr. Finch, "answer my questions, for you are my eyes and ears. Tell me, the great agricultural plains of the American heartland, do they still yield their golden harvests?" Dr. Finch, shaken, managed to nod. Yes, they are still the breadbasket of the world." "Good," the giant rumbled. "And tell me of the great reservoir in the western desert, the one that holds back the Colorado River and gives life to the cities of sand. Is it still full, or is its water receding? A geologist on the team spoke up, her voice trembling. Its levels are at a historic low. There is great fear it will soon run dry. A grim smile touched the giant's lips. It is beginning, he whispered to himself. Then he looked at them again, his one eye seeming to pierce their very souls. And one final question. Tell me of the final messenger, the man of truth spoken of in the ancient prophecies. Has he appeared? Have the people of the world embraced his message, or have they waged war against it? Tell me, has the world submitted to his truth? Dr. Finch, a man of faith, understood the weight of the question. The final message was delivered long ago, he said steadily. Many have followed it, but many more have turned away. The world remains in conflict, divided and heedless. The chained giant threw his head back and let out a sound that was half laugh, half roar of triumph. Then my time is near, he bellowed. Listen to me, you fleeting mortals, and carry my words back to your dying world. I am the one you call the false Messiah. I am the Dajjal. Soon, very soon, these chains will fall from me, and when they do, I will be granted dominion over this world for a time. I will stride across the globe with the speed of a storm cloud driven by the wind. I will enter every city, every town, every nation on this earth, save for 2 holy sanctuaries which I will be forbidden to enter. I will come to a people, and they will believe in me. At my command, the sky will release its rain, and the earth will bring forth its vegetation. Their livestock will return to them in the evening with their humps high, their udders full, and their flanks fattened. Then I will go to another people, and they will reject me. I will leave them, and they will be stricken with famine, left with nothing of their wealth. I will pass by a ruin and command it, bring forth your treasures, and the treasures of the earth will follow me like a swarm of bees. I will call forth a young man in the prime of his life, and I will strike him with a sword, cutting him in two. Then I will call to him, and he will come forward, alive and whole, his face shining with laughter. It is then that I will declare my ultimate truth. I am God. Know this, he roared, straining against his bonds. I am one-eyed, but your true Lord is not, and between my eyes will be a mark, a symbol of pure blasphemy, invisible to my followers but as clear as day to those whose hearts hold true faith. I will bring with me what appears to be a paradise and a hell. But my paradise will be hellfire, and my hell will be a cool and pleasant paradise. So if you are faced with my trial, choose the fire, for it is the only true salvation. The research team, overwhelmed with a primal fear, stumbled back out of the cave, led by the silent guardian. They found their ship, the Pathfinder, miraculously repaired, its systems humming back to life. They set sail immediately, leaving the cursed island and its chained prisoner behind, their lives forever changed by the terrible knowledge they now carried. When Elias Thorne is finally unleashed, he will not be alone. Legions of followers will flock to his banner, drawn from the powerful and the desperate, the corrupt and the disillusioned, all those who crave the earthly power he promises. He will offer solutions to the world's greatest problems: famine, war, disease, but his solutions will be deceptions, chains to enslave the souls of humanity. He is the ultimate test. His deception will be so profound, his miracles so convincing, that even the most devout will feel their faith tremble. So what is our defense? How can we prepare for such a trial? The shield is knowledge, and the sword is faith. It is said in the prophecies that whoever memorizes and recites the first 10 verses of the sacred chapter of the cave in the Quran will be protected from his deceit. For Christians, it is to hold fast to the words of Christ in the Gospels, who warned, for false messiahs and false prophets will appear and perform great signs and wonders to deceive, if possible, even the elect. We must anchor ourselves in true religious understanding. With it, we can recognize the deceiver's lies. Without it, we are adrift in a sea of falsehood, ready to be swept away by the coming storm. The story of Elias Thorne, the American Antichrist, is not just a tale of the future. It is a mirror reflecting the deceptions of our own time, the worship of wealth, the illusion of technology, and the siren call of leaders who promise paradise on earth. Prepare your hearts, strengthen your faith, and seek knowledge relentlessly, for the day will come when every soul will be tested. May God, the one true Lord of all worlds, grant us the clarity to see the truth and the strength to resist the great lie. Peace be with you.